So I gave God my yes. And then everything around me started to shake. The hardest part was not saying yes to God, it was everything that happened after. I felt God calling me, but I felt disqualified. And I didn't have all the answers that came with that yes. And I didn't understand what God was doing in my life or would do in my life. But I just knew there was this stirring up inside of me that I could not ignore. Honestly, I thought saying yes to God would make everything clearer. But instead, instead, it caused the shaking. Everything around me, the environment, the people, even people who I was really close to, it just, the changes that the Lord makes, like, it has you walking different, it has you responding different, it has you sounding different, and people might not recognize you, the people that have known you your whole life. And so it was at times triggering things in the people I knew. And so saying yes to God, I have gone through seasons of betrayal, rejection, discouragement, disappointments, you name it. Just like many of you, some of you are in situations right now and painful things you might be feeling. Might be a whole storm going on around you, and it could be storm within you. And so God took me through all of these things, and He didn't necessarily cause these things. Some of these things were caused just by me outgrowing my environment, outgrowing spaces and places, outgrowing people. And so, moments where I was mentally and emotionally just exhausted and confused, and things didn't look anything like what I had expected His promise to look like. So I started to question, did all this resistance, did all this opposition mean I heard God wrong? The thing that stirred me all up and made me want to say yes in the first place, did I get it wrong? And I remember reading in His Word in 1 Corinthians 16:9, a great and effective door has opened to me, and there are many adversaries. So God's Word was already showing me that saying yes doesn't, there can be a door opened by God and still be opposition happening at the same time. After I said yes to God, I started encountering a lot of warfare and getting opposition from directions I never expected. Support became limited, it could be few to none, resources were very low. Voices started to arise and try to become louder than God's voice. um, People warned me that, when you're on the brink of breakthrough in your life, there can be chaos, there can be confusion. And I was even warned in God's word about the giants that would come to try to scare you out of God's promises. But I started to learn in God's word that with His word, I can become the giant too, because greater who is in me is greater than who is in the world. And so things going on, everything looking unstable, that doesn't cancel out what God said. I had to learn that it's not evidence of God being absent. Like, I had to get to a place and learn that the shaking around me was not evidence that God wasn't there and that He's changed His mind. And so, with one verse, imagine what God could do with just one verse in your life, one verse from His word spoken out of your mouth. So that's when things began to shift for me. The Lord gave me 2 Corinthians 4:8 that says, "We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair." What steadied me was not pretending that everything was okay. I had to come out of agreement with negativity and the things going on around me. What steadied me was knowing that God was at the center of all of it, that He was very much present. He was my ever present help. And so I had to just simply agree with God. Imagine what God could do in your life with just one verse from His Word spoken out of your mouth. God kept bringing me back to this one verse, Psalm 46:5, that says, God is within her, she will not fall, and at the break of day, God would help her. I had to remind myself that troubles that life could bring and life happening around me did not have the authority to dictate how my story ends. I started speaking God's word constantly and just letting it sink in instead of repeating the negativity around me, everything that was going wrong or could go wrong. Instead of rehearsing those things, I started rehearsing God's truth, what His word said, instead of what it looked like, rehearsing what did God say to me. And so I began acknowledging that I could acknowledge what was going on around me and within me. The things that other people were doing and saying didn't necessarily have to take me away from what God had me doing and where God had me going. And so I had to come out of agreement with that. And I noted, okay, so in God's word, where is it? 2 Corinthians 4:13. I believed, therefore I have spoken. I kept speaking things over myself based off of what was going on around me, and it was actually making things worse for me. Things that I was speaking and just coming into agreement with. And I realized that verse exposed so much within me, because I realized I was comfortable with uh, rehearsing and being the victim, and God was delivering me the whole time, taking me out of bondage, and He was healing me from the past and things that had hurt in the past. And I was part of me was rejecting that and trying to hold on to that victim mindset because it felt comfortable, the familiarity of it, because the new things that God was doing in my life was so uncomfortable because it was so different. And His word, He kept taking me back to that verse, and that verse, it kept causing me to change and conform to His word and His way of thinking. See, He was trying to get me to put on the mind of Christ, and I was struggling with that within me because it was uncomfortable. And one verse was starting to cause a clear path in unknown territory for me. And coming out of agreement with those things, I started to clear out some of that chaos. And so God was showing me that I can be honest about what was happening in my life and what has happened without letting it own me. That was no longer my identity. That wasn't my identity at all. And God was showing me that. And so in this walking it out, living out your calling, you can experience rejection. You will experience rejection. You can experience discouragement. You can experience all these things, but God has not abandoned you. The shaking may come, storms may come, the giants may arise, but none of that disqualifies you. You are not still standing, and you're not steady and unmoved because things didn't hit you, because things didn't hurt you. Because what did hit you, what did hurt you, doesn't have the final say. See, God's promise in His word, Psalm 46:5, is that you will stand. You will not be moved. You will not fall. That is His promise, and you are still standing, and you will continue to stand.